This session is on the future of work and the price of flexibility. Give me and the audience a snapshot of where you see flexible work now. Could you give us perhaps a definition, because it's a very sludgy term, I find. And has what we mean by flexibility changed? Yeşim, how does flexible work look from where you are?
Yes, thank you. So after all the intensive research, I have a ChatGPT definition for flexible work. So the ChatGPT says it's having the employees having the control over when to work, how to work, and where to work. I think that's a very basic definition of flexible working. And I see that it has changed a lot since the pandemic, because remember, during the pandemic, it was only the location of the work, and that was what my organization and many of the other organizations were calling flexible work to be. But it had changed since the pandemic, and there's a lot of good applications of flexible work in terms of the hours that you can select, you can choose, or the places you can choose, or the work environment, or the work conditions that you could choose. So it's a different range now at the moment. And I agree, it's still a problem, it's still a paradox to manage. So there's a lot of companies trying to call back their employees for many different reasons, which are rational. There's also a lot of companies trying to be more flexible to attract and retain talent, which is also rational. So probably going forward, we will be needing to manage the paradox.
I wanted to come to you on this. What is the price of these return to office mandates, and are they sustainable in the long term? I know you've done research.
I think boundary and having a routine is good for human motivation. So we all need that. So probably having the right structure, having the right boundaries, right definition in an organization, with that we can manage it. But I personally wouldn't see this return back to the office policy sustainable.
No.
There's no way with the new generation.
Yeşim, I wanted to stay with you because McKinsey's done quite a lot of interesting research about women's ambition has sort of skyrocketed since the pandemic, and that's really explicitly linked to the availability of flexible work. How can employers harness that momentum? Have you seen, how are you doing it?
Yeah. But after the pandemic, I think what we need to do as the leaders, we need to really trust ourselves and have the confidence to be able to manage this. Because the research says, if you're not self-confident as a manager, then you wouldn't want your people to work remotely. Okay? So I think to keep the momentum, I think the first thing is the mindset shifts. We all need to be aware of our feelings as managers and leaders and why it is difficult to manage this and feel more comfortable about that. I think the second thing to keep the momentum would be, as you rightly said, to put the definition, to put the boundaries, look at all of our systems, like our performance system, like our social events, gatherings, because those are the things that people say, we don't have that enough when we work remote. Look at that and change the system so that we can all adapt. And of course, at the end of the day, it's leadership. So we definitely need to educate our leaders to be role models, whether they're men or women, to be role models and to learn what kind of leadership styles they need to use in a very different environment. So if we could do that, which is not easy, I think we could manage it.
The flexible work debate has traditionally been a debate that's been run and discussed endlessly by women. Here we are in a room of women. I think it has changed a bit since the pandemic, but what would really move the dial on this debate, do you think?
Yes, okay. So it has changed a bit during pandemic, but right after the pandemic, I think we're again losing that momentum. So when I look at the research, so why do we as women talk about this all the time, and why is it in majority, why is it the woman who is taking the chance to work flexibly and having all the disadvantages? There's a lot of things. I think we need to talk about the reasons why this happens. Like, there's huge stereotypes about men, about their minds, because, men are used to, the stereotype is they go to work, they earn money, they're very hardworking, so they're grown up like that. Actually, this is not probably true for the next generation, for the new generation of men, but this is how it is. At least in my country, it's like that. So the stereotyping needs to change, and of course it's going to take some time. So the stereotypes, the role models, the issues we have to manage as women, I think these are the reasons why this happens this way. The way to solve it, again, it goes back to the first thing I mentioned about the mindset of the organization. So I think in this group of people, I think we need to make this more often with men and women. We need to turn the conversation from women to maybe people with special needs, like neurodiversity and all that. So what is performance? And how do we create performance for everybody in the organization?